jersey. Hello, Cheeseheads. We are live, and what a end to that game. Pretty disastrous from a Spurs perspective. I'm joined today in the caller cave by HG. HG, welcome. What did you make of the last 2 minutes of that?
Well, welcome to football in 2020. Let's put it like that, shall we? It was a ridiculous end, but it's been a ridiculous year.
I mean, I thought they were. I'm answering texts coming in all the time because my dad's already been on the phone to me on text. He's a Wolves fan, in case you don't know, guys. Winding me up. No, he's just saying Spurs should have won that about 5-1, and he can't believe that was given as a penalty decision. And to be honest, I'm in shock. It's a good job we were not live on the air, because the YouTube rating would have been absolutely out the window. I threw something across the room. I was swearing. I can't quite believe what I've witnessed. I really can't. And it's just not good enough. It's just FIFA have got to do something. I mean, the rules last season were perverse and bizarre. But what is going on, HG? It's like if the same thing happened against Southampton with Højbjerg, in terms of a red card that should absolutely have not been a red card in a million years. And here we are again. Same situation. Sorry, not a red card, a penalty. The same situation. I'm getting so het up. I'm mixing my words up. The same situation this game. And if we'd have been 2-1 up at Southampton, it would have been the same thing, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. This is it. Like, no one thinks it's a penalty. I'm sure Steve Bruce doesn't think it's a penalty. But the rule, it's a penalty. I mean, it's stupid, but those are the rules. Now, obviously they could decide tomorrow that those are no longer the rules, but they're not going to do that. They're going to play it out for the whole season because they've started it. That's just the way that the system is going to run. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to continue the way that it's going. And I'm sure there will be plenty of other teams, not just Spurs, that fall foul of it. We saw it yesterday with Crystal Palace, that they conceded the extreme, but this one, well, it is even more harsh. That doesn't know where the ball is. He's got no way of handling it. He's just jumped to win a header. The ball's come back, hit him on the arm. It does hit him on the arm. There's no doubt about that. And according to the rules, it's a penalty.
But what advantage do we get from that? What advantage there's literally no advantage whatsoever, is there?
No, but I don't think the rule even matters about advantage. Handball equals penalty. Done. Whether you mean it or not, whether it hits you or not, whether unless your hand is by your heart or behind your back, then it's going to be given as a penalty. That is the way that things are right now. So look, it doesn't make any sense, but I guess you can only hope that if they're consistent, then fair enough. But if they're not going to be consistent like that, then we're in for a ridiculous season. Because I don't blame the referee. Those are the rules. He has to give it.
I absolutely do blame the referee, because he even went over to the monitor and looked at it, and he could have quite easily overruled it. If he wanted to, he could overrule it, couldn't he?
But overall, what? Nothing had been given until that point.
Wow.
It was his decision to call, and the rules say that it's a penalty. That's it. So he could have said, "I don't agree with the rules of the game," but that's an even worse precedent to set. Do you know what I mean? We all talk about it being common sense, but common sense doesn't apply if the rules are there and worded in the way that they are. I don't think it makes sense, but the rule is the problem, not the referee. It's when people talk about VAR being an issue. VAR is the problem. The rules are the problem, or how VAR is implemented, but not VAR itself.
Yeah.
They're trying to create a system where no matter what happens, it's going to be uniform across the board, and the best way to do that is to have cases like this where it doesn't matter if you meant it or not, handball is handball, done. I mean, it makes no sense, but that's what they're trying to do.
And was it a free kick in the first place, HG?
Yeah, I mean, those things you can't even really discuss, can you? Because possibly it was, possibly it wasn't. Bad decisions are given to both sides during the game, 50-50 way they go the next, and I don't think we can really worry about that. The worry right now is where is football going, and do we want it to go the direction it's going? Obviously, the first I mean, I'm sure there are teams that think that's, but they will get bitten as well. So it's almost becoming now more important to make sure that you go 2 goals up, so that a moment of nonsense like that doesn't cost you. Because at the end of the day, if we'd scored more of our chances and we had enough, it wouldn't have mattered that Eric died. I mean, that's what happened last week. The ball bounces off of Doherty, we concede a penalty, but because we're 5-1 up, it doesn't matter. Today, it mattered. It's a new reality, and we have to get used to it, and fast.
I'm watching Jose give his reaction, and for the first 30 seconds he's just stood there chewing like his gum or his tongue or something, and you can just see he's so angry, biting his lip that he can't believe it.
The only way it's going to change is if all the managers got together and said, we don't want to play under this anymore. I mean, because it's going to hurt everyone, right? And so, like, you lose fairly, then get a point in those circumstances. Bruce will down that is not a penalty. It doesn't have to go deep down, right? I mean, it's clear to everyone that it's not a penalty, but the rules right now say that it is.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I'm so angry. I am so angry. I can't believe you're staying cool, to be honest. Michael Zing says, HG's so cool. How the hell can he keep calm after such nonsense? That's a very good question. Because I don't really understand how anyone can be calm about that. That was an absolute shit show of refereeing at the end of the day. An absolute shit show. And quite frankly, look, the ref's got referee is ultimately accountable for the game. So he may be following the rules, but as far as I'm concerned,
he is following the rules. Yes.
Okay, that's what I said. As far as I'm concerned, as the referee, you've got the power, if you think something is stupid, to overturn it. And he could have interpreted that differently, that actually, it brushed off his hand. He could have interpreted that there was a little bit of a push into Dyer, and that's what made his hand flare out like that. Surely the referees have got to apply common sense to it, because otherwise you end up in this complete mess where we've dominated a game, had about 25 shots, hit the woodwork 3 times, and then at the end of it, that arsehole of a referee has given him a penalty from nothing, from absolutely nothing.
I mean, this is it. Like, I'm sure the referee could have come up with some nonsense to claim that it shouldn't have been a penalty because Dyer was pushed in the back. I mean, all of that would be a believable lie, right? Everyone knows that it should be given as a penalty. The referee's decided that he's going to interpret the rules differently because no referee's going to do that. This is their job. This is their full-time job. If you went against the rules of your company, because you felt like it, because you thought you knew better, you'd lose your job. Like I get it, right? I understand that referees obviously hope have some degree of, but case clear. It hit his hand. Penalty wouldn't have been given either. It's not as if I'm not. It's not as if I'm calm. I'm just aware of that's the situation. Like getting annoyed because it's no longer last year's rules. Well, why would I do that? Because it's this year's rules. That's what we're playing under. The back pass changed the game, and teams had to adapt. And this has changed the game. And defenders, like stupidly, of course, but they will also have to adapt. It's ridiculous. There's no two ways about it. But that's where we are, and unfortunately, it's bit us today.
And at what point can we change the rules?
Well, yeah, decide. I mean, this is it. You could say, all right, after 3 games is enough, right? So you wait for this match day to finish, and you go back. You'd have to get enough teams to agree. Weirdly enough, Spurs might not agree because they are the ones that have been hurt the most, and they'd almost like other teams to have more chance of also being hurt. Look, it would make sense for everyone if they just said, right, after the Liverpool-Arsenal game, whatever it is Monday night, right, we're done with this. That's not going to apply anymore. And yeah, look, it's gonna suck because maybe at the end of the season we'll finish 2 points out of where we need to be, and that goal will be super important. That happened last year for Aston Villa, having that goal that went in but wasn't allowed, and it ended up keeping them up. It's going to be something stupid like that, but. Just to
clarify the red card. The red card was for Nuno Santos, who is the goalkeeping coach, who went over to
Okay.
pull Harry Kane back at the full-time whistle because Harry Kane went over to protest with the referee, which obviously we know is pointless.
So,
And
that's
had a few
why Harry
had a
Kane
few
got sent off for that.
No, Harry Kane didn't get sent off. Harry Kane's
didn't?
he's
Okay.
not been. That's what I'm saying. He's not been shown a red. The red was for the goalkeeping coach who was pulling him away from the situation, Santos, who opened it. You could imagine probably had a bit of a rant at the referee as well. No red for Harry, which I suppose is, if you want to take something out of this game, that is probably good news.
Well, considering I was listening to Franco says it's red, I start to get nervous. But Franco got it wrong, so yeah.
Well, it does happen,
good,
you know, and from time to time, even Franco is wrong. I know that's almost unheard of, but it does happen. So send in your comments, please do. We're going to be here for a little while talking about the game and trying not to just focus on the one, the way it ended. So, you know, a few comments, HG. A Summertime says, you need to raise your comments to jump. It's physics. I kind of agree with that. How do you jump like this? I mean, it's just incredible.
Well, yeah,
whilst marking players, it's impossible to do so. What do you think, HG, to that?
You know, he's right. Obviously, you need, or he or she is right. They you know, you do need your arms to jump as high as possible. That is logical. It's like, but again, that's not really the discussion, is it? The discussion is, like, if you're going to jump with your hands up, right, and the ball hits your hand, you now know, without a shadow of a doubt, whether you meant it or not, it's going to be a penalty. Now, that is nonsensical, but that's the way it is.
Well, I mean, we saw earlier on in the game, Harry Kane, inside their box, booted the ball at their defender. Now, in my estimation, that was to try and get a penalty because he's trying to catch out the defender. If he's got his hands anywhere near his sides, it's a penalty under the new rules, right? So, I suppose the frustration is all we're going to see all season, the longer these rules sit there, is forwards deliberately playing for. It's a bit like Sissoko actually in the Champions League final. Clearly, he never tried to handle that ball, but the Liverpool player either aimed it at him or got lucky. But you're just going to see more of that, aren't you?
You are, and it's ridiculous to see that. I mean, smart teams will try and do that. They'll take advantage of it. Like, if this is the law, this is the rule, then, you know, the intelligent sees, as Mourinho would say, he'll want you to do that. Like, you know, it's a case of making sure you win the game at all costs.
Well, I'm pretty sure right now he thinks the referees are stupid, see.
He probably does. I mean, like, in the heat of the moment, I mean, like, if you've been running around for 90 minutes and you've given everything for your team, you think you've won the game, and to see it taken away like that, you know, it's got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, but what can you do? Like, I don't know. I don't really know what we can do apart from change it to where it was, not just last season, but before last season. Like, deciding whether someone has handled it deliberately is always tough, right? No one is going to stand there as if they're going to catch the ball like this. If their arm is out a little bit, like, even if you kind of turn your arm like this and it hits it here, like, that's not really a penalty because you're probably just trying to, you know, save yourself. You're not trying to be an extra goalkeeper. So it is, like, very few are so deliberate, like the one from Suarez at the World Cup, where it's obvious. A lot of them, it's not obvious. It just hits their hand, or they're 3 yards away. What are they supposed to do? Like, if you've got your arms out to the side, then fair enough. You're clearly making an actual effort to try and, you know, make yourself as big as possible. But most of the time, your arms are just there. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's so that I would rather have subjective calls about whether it was deliberate or not than have this. Right? I mean, that's got to be better now.
I think anything would be better. I feel sick. I felt physically sick. I was jumping around the man cave. I mean, I nearly pulled Gazza's shirt off the wall, bless him, in a rage and threw it. You know, I just... Oh, your mate's on TV now giving his presser before the Man City game. Brendan Rodgers. Make a good dartboard. Michael Zing says, it was not a free kick to start with. I'd have to see it again if I'm honest, Michael, because I didn't see the incident build up. I saw him check for offside and I thought, oh, we're home dry because there's an offside player, but no, because it was played. He wasn't interfering with play, so therefore he was.
I mean, that's another thing, isn't it? Like, wasn't interfering with play. He was standing in front of Dyer.
He's there. I mean, like, I know.
He's there. Like, how do you decide if someone is interfering? If they're not interfering, then they're not on the pitch.
I
don't understand what was wrong with the rule in the first place that made them want to try and make it different or make it better. Right? I don't understand the idea that if it hits your hand and you score a goal, then the goal is knocked off.
Yeah.
Well, that has proven to be a bit of an arse.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've got the one where defenders can kind of do whatever they want. As long as their arms are by the side, that seems a bit nonsensical. I mean, there was the other one at Palace yesterday where the shot hit Calvert-Lewin, and his arms were by his side, but it was pretty clear that he kind of manoeuvred the arm. I mean, it's just, how do you decide if something is deliberate or not? Like, bringing VAR, that's one thing, and I mean, I could say that there may be a logical reason for that, but even then, VAR was supposed to be for to me at least, for the egregious decisions, the one that were completely wrong, like the offside goal where it was actually a yard onside.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But right now they've got it to every little infringement, and it just doesn't
work.
Like, it's not better, right? The end product is not better, and at the end of the day, the Premier League is trying to sell a product, and sooner or later people are going to turn away from it because it's not a better product.
Well, I think you're absolutely right about a lot of things. I still think that the referee could have overruled it. But let's go back to the game and start talking about the game. It was a better performance today from Tottenham, wasn't it? The result might not be great, but surely we can take heart that we were dominant in that game, weren't we?
Yeah, we were definitely better than I think even we were last week. You have to take into account that Newcastle set up to be 5-4-1, very compact, which they weren't, oddly enough. They weren't very compact. We had enough chances in the game to score more than once, right? Even though the one we got was a tap-in, Newcastle's best player was their goalkeeper. So yes, we played well, but if you don't take your chances, this is what can happen. Right? Like a 1-0 win wouldn't have been very Spurs anyway, because we've never had that ability to see out games. But yeah, we played well. Like I think Højbjerg and Winks in midfield were a decent double. Lo Celso clearly is the most important player in that team because he's the one that can drop deep, drop left, drop right, like knows where he's going. I think Lucas did better mainly because he stayed on the touchline for a lot. He and Doherty, worked well together. A couple of simple 1-2s, but Doherty is good on the ball and going forward. Like that's where he wants to be. I don't think anyone particularly played badly.
Yeah.
But if you don't take your chances,
this can happen. And we both sort of looked at each other at 80 minutes and said, we're going to concede a goal because it's the way Spurs do it. And we had a good go at that with an own goal, didn't a potential own goal, didn't we? I think was it Højbjerg and Davis getting each other's way, and one blasted the ball at the other, and
that would have been peak Spurs for sure. I mean,
absolute peak Spurs.
Especially when Davies was trying to clear with his right foot. We all know that that's pretty weak anyway. But yeah, yes, that would almost have been a better way to deal with the fact that we didn't get the win. Our own stupidity, right? Like, as much as it would have been awful to concede like that, at least that would have been our own and not
Absolutely.
Some random, bod wherever. Because the thing is, it's not even a FIFA rule, is it? Like, it's a Premier League rule to have it the way that it is.
It does seem that way, yeah. Michael Zeg says today's performance is one of the best in recent times. Quite a bit of intensity, and I'd agree with that. HG, I think although for you can't always have it both ways. You can't say Newcastle were poor and we were great. I think we did a lot of things that made Newcastle poor. I think we've struggled previously to break down teams playing that formation who sit deep, and we did. Chances galore. Maybe they didn't do it that well at Newcastle, but we did create a hell of a lot of chances. Hit the post and the bar.
If you look at teams like that, teams like Newcastle that go to let's say bigger and better teams to try and get a point, right? Even if you concede one, and you're playing that 5-4-1, you're not to change that until maybe 10-15 minutes to go, because the whole point of it was to almost keep you in the game, right? Yes, you hope that the one goal you get in the last 15 minutes wins you it. You hope that you get the first goal, but if you don't, you're still only one behind, and anything can happen. I mean, we've seen in games already this season that at the game in midweek with Skendia. Like, they didn't do anything, but they had a shot from 20 yards behind the top corner.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I don't blame Newcastle for doing what they did. I mean, it's just that we were better than them, but I do think that they almost allowed some things to happen. We just didn't take advantage of the fact they allowed it.
Yeah.
Had we got a second, then Newcastle would have had to come out. They would have had to try and play to get back into the game. But when you're only one goal down, all you need is a set piece or a fluke.
Well, which is what happened. Which is what happened. And what has happened time and time again. I mean, look at Brighton, Man United. Similar sort of thing, wasn't it? Brighton were easily the better side in that game. Absolutely pummeled Man United, I thought, for most of the game. Although I only saw the second half, I saw the highlights match of the day last night. And it just looked like they were easily the better side. But again, undone by a crazy decision. And it's all to do with this handball, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, the one yesterday I thought was a penalty, and I didn't care the fact that the final whistle had gone. Like, it sucks for Brighton, but again, if Brighton had taken their chances, that wouldn't have mattered, right? Like, all it does really is emphasise just how important it is to have goal scorers, people in your team that can take a chance. Today, Lucas got the goal, but you wouldn't back him to really finish a move if he had to.
Yeah.
Kane can score from anywhere, Son can score from anywhere, but outside of that, you're struggling. Yeah. We don't have goal scorers, and so that I hate to bang on about it, but we bring on Lamela. He did nothing wrong, but he's not going to get you that second goal. We should have someone like Dele on the bench, because even if he does nothing else, he is still liable to be on the end of something, be in the right place at the right time, and finish moves off. And that's not to say that it wasn't Lamela's fault, clearly, right? I mean, Bergwijn came on, and the same is true of him, right? One of those two should have had Dele instead of them on the bench. I don't really care which one it is, but when Dele is your third highest scorer from last season, and
I'm going to say at this point, I don't care that Dele wasn't on the bench. What we should have on the bench is a proper goal scorer, a striker. And I think it just highlights to me the need for us to have one, because you do look at that bench, and even if Dele was on it, I would have no faith he's going to get us a goal, if I'm being perfectly honest. We need an out-and-out goal scorer who can change the game.
Who, ironically, probably wouldn't have been on the pitch. Because if you take whoever...
No, he probably wouldn't in this game, HG, but I mean, you've got to have someone to change the game.
Yeah, but again, that's what I'm saying. Like, change the game means what exactly? When you're 1-0 up, what does change the game mean? Did Lamela really bring anything that Lo Celso hadn't done apart from fresh legs?
It's more of the same.
Did Bergwijn really do anything different than Son? Like, I still don't know why Son was taken off. I didn't see an injury. I can only assume that Jose thinks, okay, well, we've got a game on Tuesday. I want him to lead the line there. I don't know what's happened, so maybe he was injured. But it does seem a bit. What do you want to do, right? Is Lamela that much better defensively? Is it just that he's fresh pair of legs? The same with Bergwijn. Is Bergwijn at the same level of Son? Like, it's really got nothing to do with the individual players. It's just that you need to have more goal scorers, and especially if they're, what's the word I'm looking for? That they're versatile, right? Like you get someone like Bale, right? Who can come on and be an attacking midfielder, can be a central striker if you need, has the ability with either foot to find the corner. We had so many chances today.
Yeah.
Right? And some of them were great saves, but a lot of them weren't. A lot of them were just poor shots, poor decisions, where we were in decent areas, but just couldn't away. I mean, Lo Celso's very one-footed, so he's always looking to get it onto his left foot, which, as a defender, makes your job half as easy. I mean, half as difficult, because you know what he wants to do. So you just show him onto his right foot, and he's either going to pass it to someone else or try and get it onto his left foot.
I suppose what we've been helped, really, because although we played 3, 1-1 draw, 1 lost 1. Some of the rival clubs around us have also dropped points, haven't they? So you look at West Brom, nearly should have beaten Chelsea yesterday, really. Man United should have dropped, but they've already dropped points, haven't they, in their opener? So it's not all doom and gloom. This isn't the end of the world, is it? And we should probably take a lot of heart from the way Spurs have played, because I think we completely dominated the game, should have won, and on a different day probably could have scored 5 like we did last weekend.
Last week, yeah. No, I mean I agree with all of that. The teams are going to drop points as well, right? But what irks me most is the fact that the 2 games when we're at home, right? Like if we want to get where we need to be, then there should only be maybe 6 or 7 games during a season that you don't win at home, and we've already had 2 of them. I think that the season where we went unbeaten at home and drew 1 game to, I mean, it's been nothing.
Yeah.
51 points, I think. I can't remember how many it was, but like we got a huge amount of points at home, and you need to take advantage. Even if there's no crowd, you need to take advantage of the fact that like this is your territory. And yeah, like, okay, look, if we go to Man United next week and we beat them, then we'll feel a lot better about today.
But I mean, that's now quite a big 6-pointer, really, isn't it? We're dropping points today.
To lose it, I think that's true. We certainly don't want to go to Man United and lose. If we get, it's not a bad result because they're probably one of our major rivals for where we want to be. If we go and win, then that's better, obviously. But yeah, you don't want to be losing games against your rivals. Taking a draw wouldn't have been that bad considering they're 3 on the spin and are 5 points ahead of us.
Yeah,
and it's a big deal. They've won 2 away games already. It's you afford to be 5 or 6 points behind people so early. Yeah. Because as we saw with Chelsea last season, we got it back a couple of times to get close to them, but we never ever got in front of them, and we don't want to position again. We really don't.
So where do we go from here then? So we got the Blue Scum on Tuesday. How's that? Yeah, what's the starting lineup going to be for that then, HG? What kind of team we're going to put out? Do we take it seriously? Are we bothered about the League Cup?
Well, as players, they might be. As manager, I don't know. As club, probably not. Right? I think it will be a strong team because we had lots of players who didn't play today, or lots of players who only played 45 minutes that can come in and not just players, but good players. Like Aurier will play the whole game. He wasn't involved today. I think Reguilon will probably start. Joe Hart will come in. I mean, these are international players.
Yeah.
That they're not mugs. We're not playing the youth team. We're not playing a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
So I think we'll take it seriously in that respect. I don't know what Chelsea will do. I mean, obviously they don't have the fixture congestion that we do, but they'll want to win. They'll want to get back to something after a bad result yesterday. So
well, you're like this. Manchester City have just taken the lead. They're 1-0 up already against Leicester.
How long have they been going?
3 minutes. Mahrez into the top corner. Brendan, some intel. Brendan's saying Mourinho's just said that Son's got a hamstring injury, and he's likely to be out for a little while.
Joyful.
So Bale, you better get fit quick, is what I'd say about that. I mean, it depends on how serious it is. I think he didn't go off limping or anything, did he? So
no, it's a chance for Lamella. It's a chance for Jack Clark to get some minutes, maybe. Yeah, why not?
What, in the League Cup?
Times are tough.
In the League Cup, you mean?
Times are tough.
In the League Cup.
Yes, I mean, League Cup, Europa Cup, or whoever. I mean, this is it. Like, whoever it is, like he got minutes today, so he's not far off the team.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like,
because you hate him.
Well, I don't hate him. I just don't think he's any good. There is a difference. I think we have lots of better options. I really do, but I don't think Mourinho agrees with me on that. So he's probably going to play. He's going to start. Certainly one of the 2 midweek games, you'd have thought.
We've got Bergwijn, haven't we? And potentially, we've got we might play 5 at the back, might we? Give Reguilon a start.
Possibly, but you need to have options up front, right? And like Kane's the number 1.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play centre forward, Son's centre forward. If Son's out for a few games, then we're screwed again, and we're one injury away from having to play Dele up top.
Yeah.
Or Bergwijn, or someone who's not used to doing it.
Well, I mean, this could bring Dele back into the fold, couldn't it? Having an injury to Son, it might have perversely worked in his favour. It might also perversely work in Jose's favour that we speed up our signing of a centre forward.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we would have found a centre forward that wants to join. I mean, all we can say to them is say, hey, look, players get injured, you might get a chance. Like, we can now prove the fact that players get injured. But no, I just, like, today was a good performance from a team that didn't take their chances, right? And got punished for not taking their chances.
Yeah.
And so, like...
And defensively, never troubled. You know, they got a penalty, but we were never troubled the whole game. Like, looked comfortable. Apart from when we tried to put it in our own net, there was no threat whatsoever, was there? And Callum Wilson's no mug. But he's probably not the right person to lead the line, again, in that formation away from home. And I would have said Andy Carroll would probably be a better player to start with, Steve Bruce, if you're watching. But that was the only time they carried any threat. Lumping balls into the box in the last 10 minutes when there's just chance of their arm. And I suppose even then we dealt with everything absolutely fine. It just happened to happen that it hit Dyer's arm, and that's that.
Yeah, no, I mean, no one's to blame apart from the strikers who couldn't find the corner, really.
Yeah.
So,
well, don't be too deflated, because I still think, personally, I think that we will do big things in the league this year. I genuinely do. The other thing that Jose apparently is jumping up and down about is the goal was offside. So there's an angle of it that shows that Carroll's arm was in an offside position. I think
it's with your arm.
Well, it is his ponytail as well, by the looks of it. His man bun or whatever. So yeah. I mean, don't be. I can't be too doom and gloom after that, because I thought we dominated. We seem to be, Mars the better team, and I think we're in with a good chance this season.
There are plenty of positives to take away from it, right? I mean, there are plenty of positives, but I think it does well for the team to start. Obviously, Jose's going to talk about the referee and the issues and the offsides or whatever, but from players' point of view, they have to take it on the chin and say we should have done better.
Yeah. Like
1-0 is never enough. I mean, this is not a new thing. The fact that there are now more things that can hurt you doesn't change the fact that if Shelby finds the top corner from 30 yards, that's unlikely but still plausible. It's possible. He's on the pitch. So I think that the players obviously they need to get today out of their system. The ones that will play against Chelsea will be focused. The ones who play against Maccabi Haifa will be focused. But we have to learn from these days.
Dave Bolton says he's still in a bad mood. Four beers in now, and it's not even midday. I mean, Dave, you're always in a bad mood. I mean, what's different? It's just that Spurs have lost today. Come on.
Like a London, Boston sometimes would have been good, but I think in COVID, it's not a great idea. So yeah, Dave, go easy on the adult Pepsi, and.
So we've got coming up. We've got Chelsea on Tuesday. So we're sort of talking about a mixed game. Probably not taking it too seriously, but seriously enough not to get walloped if Chelsea put their full strength side out.
No, but if you think about the Chelsea team, like I imagine Joe Hart will start. Then you've got Aurier right back, Reguilon at left back, Alderweireld will play, maybe Foyt alongside him. In midfield, Sissoko can play. I don't know what he did today because he was on the bench, but then he wasn't.
He's feeling ill, apparently.
I'm feeling okay. At the thought of playing for Spurs.
Yeah, maybe at the thought of playing on the right again.
Yeah, possibly. But there's Jedson, there's Lamela, there's Clark, there's Dele. I mean, they're not no hopers.
Yeah.
Right. They are players that need minutes.
And Kane's going to have to play up front.
I don't see that happening.
Who will play then? Who will play up top? Dele?
He might play. I mean, I talked about the idea of having Dele and Lamela as like a front two, putting pressure on the Chelsea centre halves, who we know they're not great.
They're not great at all.
Sessegnon's another player who can play the whole game. He's not had a minute so far this season.
That's true.
So we will have a strong set of talented players. Whether it's a team or not, I don't know, but talented players for sure.
And then the team for Thursday night, what's your feeling there? Full strength or a couple of changes?
That will be based on what we saw today, right? So Bergwijn might start for Son if Son's injured, but Kane will start, and it'll be very similar.
Kane didn't start the last Europa League, did he?
He didn't, but because he started today, I don't see him starting Tuesday, start Thursday. Like when you've only got 2 days between the games,
Yeah.
to me, whoever starts Sunday has a chance of starting Thursday, and whoever starts Tuesday has a chance of starting the following Sunday. So we might see Reguilon play really well against Chelsea in the cup, and he might become left back next week or on Sunday at Man United. So everyone's going to get games, right? Like it's just a question of where you want them to be. I think it's clear that the club has said that, or believes that the Carabao Cup game is the least important of the four for various sporting and financial reasons. So yeah, we'll see. But there's no way Kane is playing more than 3. I can't imagine. It would be incredibly stupid to him on Tuesday night against Chelsea. As far as it goes.
Okay. Well, watching all the way from India, and I apologise for my Indian pronunciation of this name straight away, is Kastuba. Watching from a distance, seems like Spurs should close games earlier. It has been an ongoing theme. Do you guys think there is a hidden agenda? Mourinho attacking a referee last season.
There's no hidden agenda. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I think there are plenty of people in the media who Spurs. I think there are plenty of people in positions of responsibility that don't really care if Spurs are burdened with something that they shouldn't be. This happened plenty of times. I mean, I remember 10 years ago we had to play a FA Cup quarter-final, I think, at Chelsea on a Saturday lunchtime because Chelsea needed more time to prepare for their midweek game, and so we played Thursday night and then Saturday lunchtime. It's I don't know about agenda per se, but yeah, it's an ongoing problem that we can't keep a clean sheet because we haven't done it once this season, right?
No,
I mean, Plovdiv scored against us, Shendia scored against us.
Even Plovdiv.
Yeah, so we need 2 to win a game. I mean, that's just it. That's the situation we're in. Yeah, like if Mourinho had decided to shut up shop and play a low block, then all it does is really pressure, right? There's no guarantee that would work. But I don't. The Spurs that we all love, the Spurs that we want to see, is a team that is always going for goals.
Sadly, the Spurs team that we all love does shit like we just witnessed.
Yes,
repeatedly.
But again, like that today isn't on the players particularly, right? Like the players can learn.
No, you said it was because they didn't take the chances, so the players have to take responsibility.
That part is, but at the end of the day, they weren't punished. Yeah, it's one of those things. As a player, you have to focus on what you can control, what you can do better, right?
Yeah. Well, put the ball in the net then, Harry. Next time you get the opportunity.
And I think the Celso one that annoyed me the most. You know, he's like 10 yards out, trying to find an angle for his left foot. Just use your right foot, mate. You're 12 yards out. If you kick it hard enough, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw plenty of times last season. I think Dombele scored a goal early on where he just swung his left foot at it. May have been against Southampton in the league, and it went in.
Yeah.
Like at some point, trust the fact that you're a professional footballer. And Lo Celso is brilliant with his left, but like you hear the stories of when Gareth Bale as a kid, you know, he was so good in games that he was told that he'd only use his right foot. Right, the left foot would put him on too much of a. The level was so high, he had to use his right foot. Lo Celso needs something similar. Right? He needs to trust that foot more. Same with Lamella. Same with all of the players that we've got that are very clear-footed. Right? It's ridiculous that someone who gets paid to practice football isn't able to do that, because most footballers should be. They should be as two-footed as Sonny is. And Sonny worked on it his whole career to get to where he is now. But they should be better than what we're seeing.
Michael Zing, good question. Where is Toby?
Sat on the bench.
What is going on there, MHG? He signed this contract last year, so it looked like he was on his way out last year for a large portion of it. Jose's come in. He's obviously convinced him to sign a contract because I think he wanted to sign us, but he wanted the money. So Jose's obviously influenced Levy to put the money up for a contract. And now he's not playing him. And he hasn't really, since he signed that contract, he hasn't been a permanent fixture at centre back. So and today, I mean, Dyer and Sanchez against a team that are not that mobile up top. What's the logic?
Well, there isn't none, as far as I'm concerned, because everyone knows that I love Toby.
Well, he's our best defender, isn't he? He's our best centre back.
I thought Toby was our best defender even when Vertonghen was at the club and when we were doing really well. I've always thought Toby is our best defender.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not the fastest. Obviously, he's not the biggest, but he is the best when it comes to possession. Lots of today. There were plenty of higher strides forward. He's not left-footed. He has to try and find a pass. Sanchez strides forward with the ball, and Newcastle were just waiting for it because they know it's not going to hurt them. Toby has that ability to pick a pass. I mean, he's basically a midfielder who plays centre-back.
Yeah.
So, to me, there is no real reason for not starting him. Like if he thinks that Dyer and Alderweireld are too similar, I suppose I could understand that. But Dyer does prefer to play on the left. So it would work, right? I think it would work. We've obviously talked before about maybe playing 3 centre-halves. If that was the case, then I think Davis would become one of the 3 because you need that left-footed balance. But I just there's no reason why Toby shouldn't be starting our league games. He's our best defender. The league game is our bread and butter. Those are the things that we care about the most, if we're honest. And we're dropping points.
It's a strange old thing, isn't it? It's a strange old thing. I'm surprised that he's not picking him.
I mean, like people, I think Dyer has almost made himself undroppable. That's the crazy thing to me.
But how? Because he's not even that good.
No, but I think Jose praises mentality. Mentality is everything to him. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've seen. There's a documentary on Netflix about various coaches of various sports, and there's one on Mourinho, and he says, like, I don't coach football players. I coach football teams. So he's obviously decided that Dyer, for whatever reason, is a vital part of the team that he wants to play. And now he's got that team, he wants to make sure that they play a system that will win them games. I don't understand. I think technically you'd have Toby every day.
Yeah.
I think it's Toby plus 1. Like if it was Toby plus Dyer, no one would care, right? But because Toby is the clear best centre back, people will always ask when you don't win games.
Okay, well, look, we've done 42 minutes, and I feel slightly better than I did at the beginning of HG. Maybe I've just calmed down. I don't know, or maybe it was that worldie from Mahrez putting Brendan Rodgers to the sword that cheered me up. I think you just have to understand that, like, I mean, I don't know what it is. It's football. It's a game. Like, I love it. People aren't 50 quid. I mean, if you paid 50, 60 quid a ticket to have that taken away from you, then you'd. Right, everyone's sitting at home being upset, but just imagine how bad it would feel that you paid to be there. I'm glad I wasn't at the stadium today.
There you go. Right, so there are always positives to be found. Today, you just wish you didn't have to have a situation where you needed to find those positives.
One last question, HG, which is just coming from Stavros, and I love a Stavros. So what do you think Bale is thinking? Typical Tottenham or Premier League laws madness? And it was interesting. Bale in the stands today watching, so it would be a penny for his thoughts, really. What do you think he was sat there thinking? I could get into this team probably now Son's injured.
All of the above, right? Like obviously, anyone knows that we've always had a bit of bad luck. Spurs. Bale experienced it, but finishing 4th and then not getting into the Champions League, or finishing 5th a couple of seasons in a row because Arsenal just about made it. I mean, like he's experienced a fair chunk of it at Spurs, but you'd like to think. I mean, like as everyone, like the rule was the issue today, right? Newcastle weren't going to score without that rule.
No. They
just weren't. So it is a bit of both, but I think mostly it's going to be that the rules are a pain in the ass, and now if I'm going to be playing, I'm going to be trying to hit someone's arse. I mean that's the way the game is going. I think Bale is smart enough to realise that if that's the way it is, I mean it's awful. No one wants to see it, but it's a competitive league, and so you have to use the rules to your advantage.
Bale's for my 2 pence. Bale's probably thinking, I'm going to get one of those mannequins out and target the arm as much as possible in training.
Yeah. He also might be thinking about trying to hide his comb, his bald spot. I suspect Bale thinks about that quite a lot, given the haircut.
Is that a bald? Has he got a bald spot under there?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. No doubt at all. Like,
are you just surmising?
No, I'm not just surmising. It's like I'm going bald, you're going bald.
No, I'm not.
Oh well, okay. It just looks like you are.
It's looked like that for the last 25 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just think that I don't know. I think it's funny, right? I do think it's funny. It's clear to me that he didn't want to have a man bun.
He could just have a hair transplant like Rooney, though, couldn't he? If he really would care,
he could have
cared that much. So maybe he just thought, I need to blend in the Spanish league. They've all got man buns. I'm going to go for it.
I would have probably respected him more had he got the transplant, even though I think they're sillier too. Look, it's one of those things. But Bale don't really care about his hair. But we've seen in his career that when he cares about his hair, he's maybe not as good. So let's just hope that Bale's thinking, right, next week, Man United, maybe I can be on the bench for that. And then the West Ham game 2 weeks after that.
I think that's probably the first time you're going to see him at West Ham, a couple of weeks' time.
It would be nice, having scored in the last few seconds of his last game against West Ham, that he then went and scored in the first few seconds of the next game against West Ham, right? Because that lovely winner at Upton Park, two new, the same teams but two different stadiums completely. But it would be nice to see him find the top corner within the first couple of minutes. I
know how much joy that would bring you, and what a good place to finish the pod. Thanks very much for joining me, HG. I still don't feel great, but I feel slightly better than I did at the start of it. By the end of the podcast later on tonight, maybe I'll feel different altogether. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Please do subscribe and share our video streams. We're going to be live watch along on Tuesday night against Chelsea. Can't wait for that one. And in the meantime, please like, subscribe, listen to the podcast, and come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
Cheers.